Something that godly men must understand in today's society is that most of the women that are around you in the Western world, if you are someone that has values, that has standards, that actually sticks to your boundaries and those standards and morals, most of the women are going to be not anywhere near they need to be in order to come correct. And the truth is, you're going to be out of their league for the most part. And this is not to say that, like, the same could be said for women that are godly as well. Godly women, you are way out of the league of most of the men that you are dealing with. All of the Pookie and Ray Rays, all of the cucks, all of the depleted coomers. It's all just a big cesspool of disgusting, promiscuous, STD, diseased behavior. Now, of course, not everything is about STDs or diseases or anything like that, but you guys get the point. Now, in today's video, what I want to talk about is the sexual and seductive disorder that is histrionic personality disorder. Now, I'm going to give a disclaimer here and say that I just found out about the term histrionic personality disorder the other day in a consultation that I had with someone. And I was very curious about it because I know a lot about narcissism and I know a little bit about BPD, borderline personality disorder, but I had never really heard of histrionic. I've seen it, but I didn't really know what it was. But then as soon as I started doing research on this topic, which I'm going to go through some of the signs here of someone having a seductive disorder, but as soon as I started doing more research and just accumulating all this information, and I did a lot of research over the past few days, I was like, you know what? I knew what this was. I just didn't have a word for it. I just thought these people were just overly sexualized individuals. But now what I'm realizing is it's something completely different. So here's a couple of the signs here. Well, there's actually more than a couple, but they're uncomfortable in situations in which they are not the center of attention. They have interactions with others characterized by inappropriately sexually seductive or provocative behavior, displays rapid shifting or shallow expression of emotions, consistently uses physical attention to draw attention to self, has a style of speech that is excessively impressionistic or lacking detail, self-dramatization, theatricality, etc., highly suggestible, and considers relationships to be more intimate than they actually are. So these are the signs, and we're going to go through like what causes the personality disorder or ways that people with this disorder can get help. But I think it's important to kind of address the overarching theme here and why it's so important to look at this. There's been many women that I've seen, particularly. I haven't seen a lot of, like, men are like this as well, but I see more men with highly narcissistic traits more so than histrionic as far as like this goes. Like if a man is histrionic, has a histrionic personality disorder, I don't think it would be like, I think it would be a little bit more difficult to detect personally. Again, I'm not super familiar with this term. I definitely am more familiar with narcissism and BPD, but definitely not histrionic. So I would imagine that narcissism would be more of a highly initiative, it would be more a highly impactful disorder for men more so than women. And I think more women would suffer more from histrionic. I think the two could be kind of confused with one another as well, because it seems like histrionic personality disorder is more like they can't live or they feel more alive when they get attention. And so it doesn't really matter where the attention is coming from. And this is one of the reasons why I think so many women have this, or maybe not so many women, but more women than men. Because even though men and women both cheat, right? But there was a comment in one of my videos recently where a guy said something like, at the gym, women will make it socially acceptable enough for you to see that they desire you, but also in a way that they can consider it not to be cheating. And I said, like, wow, if that isn't the truest statement I've ever heard. And I think a lot of the times that kind of personality trait from women comes from traits like this, where it's almost like they just feel more alive when they're getting attention. They just feel like they're more significant when they're getting attention. If you're someone that values his attention as a man, and godly men do, anytime you give attention, and this is something else I've noticed about alphas versus betas. Alphas, they provide attention. Betas are the ones that are seeking validation or attention from women. Alphas are the ones that give that kind of attention that women desire. So that's the main difference between an alpha and a beta when it comes to like personality traits with women. But I think that's also one of the reasons why women feel more alive when they're getting the attention from the quote unquote alpha. It's because they have these rapidly shifting of shallow emotions. Have you ever met someone that, like, it doesn't seem like they ever really say anything? They talk a lot about emotions. They talk a lot about things or materials or stuff, but they never really say anything. Like, they never really say anything with substance. And that's kind of what I imagine. Like I know some of these women that I've heard in the gyms over the years where they exactly can contribute these kinds of signs to their personality, especially the self-dramatization and theatricality and exaggerated expression of emotions. And then you look at it like when they are actually like expressing these emotions to their girlfriends or to these guys, you can tell the insincerity, like it's not sincere at all. It's not sincere in the slightest. And so it's almost like this goes back to like the style of speech is impressionistic and lacking detail. It's almost like they think that the more shallow they can be, the deeper the relationship. And that's just not the way things go. So what are the causes of this kind of personality disorder? Well, according to my research here, there's certain ways that people can develop this, but I also have my own theory as well. So some of the ways is partly genetic, of course, but also it can be considered how you were raised. So how you were punished or how you were criticized as a child. And the inconsistency as well. I think it's more along the lines of inconsistency of attention and the child not being validated when the good behavior was there. And so the child can receive different forms of validation or acceptance from the parents, whether they're doing good or bad, quote unquote, behaviors. So it's like the child never really knows what's good and what's bad and what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. So then they grow up becoming like realizing that the only way that they can really get this kind of attention that they desire is just by being overtly sexual, no matter if it's with the women that they're with or with the guys. And I've heard women in the gym specifically where they're being overly sexual to like the men and the women around them, and like they're being way too comfortable with each other, like for public setting. You know, they're talking about swass, they're talking about like the period tampons, like making sure they're not bleeding or whatever. Like And that part isn't necessarily sexual, but it's still like they're like, hey, check out my ass, like check out my ass here, and they're like, oh no, girl, you ain't bleeding, but your butt looks amazing, and it's like, I understand like the girls, that's not like that's a genuine compliment in some ways. I guess you could consider it to be in any way, but whenever they're talking like that and they're like excessively focused on the body parts, like, have you ever noticed, like, at the gym specifically, of course people are going to be complimenting how you look, but it's like, because you're at the gym obviously, but it's also in the sense that that's, if you're always getting validation in that way, you begin to subconsciously think that the only value that you have is your body part and how you look. And that's just not going to be healthy down the line. And so when these women, they've even started talking about, like, when I sucked this guy off the other day, when I was like, like, in public, like, you're at the gym and you're talking about sucking guys off, like, as if it's like, yeah, what I had for breakfast this morning. This is kind of the too comfortable state of mind that they get in when they talk about these kinds of things. And so some ways to have treatment, according to the research here, it doesn't really sound like the only way that they can get treatment is by them actually wanting to go and get the therapy that they need. But even with like narcissists and borderline personality disorder, from what I know, there's no written healing process for the narcissist ever documented. They can recognize it, they can start to heal from it, but they can't actually get to the point that they need to get to say that they've been healed from narcissism. And it kind of sounds like that's kind of the same similar thing with borderline personality and histrionic. So it's like these overly hyper self-image focused disorders are basically the basis of our societal foundation. And of course, everybody knows the meme where when women take a photo with their phone nowadays, it's always pointed at themselves. But whenever men take a photo of something, they're usually pointing it out at a landscape. And so that just goes to show the kind of behaviors that men and women exhibit when it comes to this kind of thing, generally speaking. And so, especially if you're a godly man in this day and age, we've got to be extra careful when vetting vetting women in general. We've got to be extra careful at analyzing the behaviors. And I say this because it's no secret that our society is collapsing. Like, it's no secret. It doesn't make it any less fun to look at, though. And we've got to be careful because these kinds of people can be literally dangerous to your emotional health, your spiritual health, and they can block your blessings if you let them get the chance. And so be sure also that the only way that a seductive person can get their way with you is when you're open to receive it. If you can make sure that that bond is cut, because here's the thing, you might accidentally create a bond and a connection with someone without even knowing it. And when you do that, you've got to be very careful. You've got to make sure that you're not investing into the connection. And one of the best ways to do that is to get away. If it's a toxic place or it's a toxic situation, you just have to remove yourself from the equation. But number two, you have to set stronger boundaries. And I know for a lot of guys out there, they don't even know what that's like. Like, I've had people on my calls where they tell me that they don't even know what it's like to set a boundary. Like they don't even know what a boundary looks like. And so I've even had women try to gaslight me into not like me making a boundary, and they're like, "Oh, actually no, you do like that." And I say, "No, I really don't actually, but thanks for showing me who you are. Appreciate that. I don't appreciate you trying to gaslight me out of my boundary, but appreciate you showing me who you are." And so it's like when I say I don't like it when this happens, or I don't like for example, a very simple one. I don't like people stealing my identity. I don't like people stealing me. I don't like people stealing who I am. Because with narcissism, that happened a lot of the time growing up. It was just like I felt like my essence was being taken from me. And it was like they were completely copying my behavior. And so I don't like that. I don't like when that happens. Well, a narcissistic person, or from what I can tell, like a histrionic will do almost anything to get the attention, like literally almost anything. They will do anything to try to make it seem like they're part of you, or you are the best things in sliced bread, all to just love you enough, then kind of get bored and move on to the next person. And I understand, like, for me, when I just kind of let a relationship fizzle out, I know that the women were like probably wondering. In fact, I know like they were wondering, some of them. I don't know about some of the others, but some of the women were wondering, and they let me know that they were wondering, like, hey, like, where did you go? Like, what happened? It's like, well, I don't really think this is going to work out between us. So like, we just kind of started fizzling out anyway. So I figured to just let it go. Like, what else am I supposed to do? Like, you want me to just wait around? I didn't say that part, but I was thinking it. And, they were just kind of shocked. Just kind of stunned. And it's like, well, these are my boundaries, and you very clearly don't seem like you want to participate with that. And this is something that I think, just by the way, a lot of women don't understand that being with a man that has some kind of value involves effort. It involves bringing something. And when you just expect the guy to do all the work in the relationship, of course the man is supposed to lead. Of course he is. As he should. As he ought to. But if he is trying to guide you a certain way and trying to lead the relationship a certain way, and you don't want to put effort into that, why the should he stick around? Ladies, why should he stick around? There's no reason to. So men, we've got to stay sophisticated savages out here. We really do. We've got to stay sophisticated, savage. We've got to stay brutal with our boundaries, and we've got to stay strong in who we are as a man. Because here's the other thing. What is so fucking stupid, honestly, when I've gotten to the point that I've gotten, and I look at all of the pool of women that are available, it's like you get to a point to where you build yourself up to be, as a man, you are a masculine force to be reckoned with. You have a purpose, you have drive, you have ambition. You are going somewhere. You know where you're going. You know where you've been. You're okay with where you've been because it built you into the person that you are today. And you're continually building and putting in effort on yourself every single day. And now you're to the point to where you are that masculine force to be reckoned with. You're a fucking beast. You're a beast of a man. And then you look at all of the women trying to be men. And they think that they're like, like you're attracted to that as a man. And you're just like, no, no. Why would I want a competition to come home to? Why would I want a competition? And I think this is someone with this kind of histrionic personality disorder, because they're so shallow in their emotions, they wouldn't even be able to recognize that. And so I'm sure that a lot of these emotional relationships and these intimate relationships suffer because of the kinds of behaviors that you exude when you're in this kind of mindset and when you have this kind of disorder. I think people can have like these kinds of traits similar to like narcissism. Like you can have narcissistic traits, but you don't really, like, you're not really a full blown narcissist. But it all comes back to the eyes. Just look at the eyes. The eyes never lie, Chico. The eyes never lie. So be careful out there, fellas. Be sure that you're paying attention to these kinds of behaviors. And women out there, no woman should be like upset with this video, by the way. I don't know why they would be, but I'm sure there's probably someone out there that might be offended, but that's not this kind of video. The goal is to help improve society and bring awareness to these kinds of things. And so again, if you want treatment, if you've got this kind of disorder, woman that's watching this, I would say the best thing to do is to start taking accountability. And I understand that can be very difficult, but that would be the place to start. And really self-analyze why your relationships are or not working. And with that being said, I hope this message was useful and insightful. And until next time, peace be with you.